Hello, Lisa Richard here with Loving Energy Recharge. Welcome to the Inner Alchemy for October the 30th, leading us through to November the 4th. Inner Alchemy is a blend of the teachings of human design, the gene keys, and incorporating some tools as a more than existing Lightworker coach. As our mandala wheel is turning, we're finding ourselves coming in through what is known as the gateway of patterns. Now, we are in Scorpio season, so we are in the 8th house of intimacy, death, and transformation. This is also bringing us the element of water, so there is an opportunity to bring that in to help purify, but you also might be really seeing some rise in emotional energy yourself. Anytime we're going through a process of transformation, anytime that there is a release or an ending, or we are looking at intimacy, which means really getting to the core of who we are and having those honest conversations with self, it can feel very emotionally overwhelming. So here's your opportunity to invite in the element of water as a tool to purify. And living on Vancouver Island, I'm very fortunate to be close to the ocean. And when you imagine the ocean and the different rhythms of the waves that it has, well, we have the same opportunities within our energy body to either bring in a lot of turbulence, a lot of storm by really hyper fixating on the emotions, on the things that are coming up for us. And one of the transformational tools that we are being invited to use is to come back home to the breath, to come back home to the stillness of knowing that all these waves are coming in, all these changes are happening right now. All of these different interferences, which is our shadow energy at this time, are very much real. But when we center back to the breath and you center back into that acceptance of all things are existing within this space, but you are waiting for the clarity of the truth within yourself, meaning your own intuition to be the guiding force to see you through. I was at a beautiful meditation the other day in Comox, where I live. And one of the analogies that came forward in the meditation was the divine guidance that if you are trying to think your way through something, that's not your intuition. And we really want to hone on to our intuition and this gateway of patterns that we're in. We are facing a fear of the past during this time. That is the teaching tool within there. And we're going to find it down in our splenic center within the teachings of human design, which is the center that houses our ancient fears related to survival. So this is your animal instincts, the fight, the flight, the freeze, and the fawn. But it's also where your deepest intuition is. So we use all these different patterns, these tools that are given to us. We know we are in Scorpio season. We know we are in the element of water. We know we are in the 8th house of transformation and death and intimacy. We know we're being stimulated in our splenic center. So it's activating our ancient fears, our ancestral fears. But it is stimulating and it is helping us to bring forward our intuitive knowing. In this case, it is the knowing through the sense of smell. And literally, it can be a smell that you are getting, but we forget that smell is an aura, right? So we have this energetic aura that emanates from us, and we just kind of have a nose to go in a certain direction. So there is an expression there that it comes from a sense of smell, but what is beyond smell? What is beyond our perception of I'm following my nose, right? So we have all these phrases, we have all of these expressions. What it's really inviting you to do is to go deeper within yourself, to examine your own patterns of behavior, to really look at your relationships, to look at how we tend to not expose who we are because we're afraid of the past, because we have expectations, we have desires, we have fears of being hurt. And it is really about stepping into allowing your fears to surface, allowing your hurts to surface, noticing your expectations, what your desired outcomes are within your relationships with others, within the relationship with yourself, and to notice how we tend to place things in a hierarchy. We tend to not do things because it's either out of what we believe we can do for ourselves, or we're looking at our relationships and we're putting certain people above who we are or under who we are. And so many of these things that we try to structure and control are all based on our upbringings. And they're based on rhythms and patterns that have been unfolding generation after generation after generation. Our ideas, our belief systems, our cultures, all of these different things that have created division among us, division among the sexes, division among the races, divisions among languages. But at the same time, there's also gifts that have been preserved in each and every one of those. So it's not that something is better than something else. We have been taught that. And during this time, as the veil is becoming thinner, moving us into Halloween, into Samhain, a time of meeting our ancestors, being closer to spirit, we're really being guided within ourselves to look at our fears, our expectations, our relationships, how we carry ancestral baggage with us into our present moments, and to call on the element of water, to call on Scorpio season to help us to release and let go. So we have a gift that we can call upon during this time, and it's the gift of teamwork. Now, the beauty with the gift of teamwork is that it's also reaching us towards the highest light aspect at this time, which is all about synergy. And these are the teachings of the Gene Keys from Richard Rudd that brings us through the shadow, the dilemma, which is the learning component, into seeing the gift and reaching for that highest light. So within yourself, it's moving from the lower vibrating energies, our emotions, our fears, those things that keep us stuck. And it's coming back in through that breath into the high heart of you, your divine alignment, to do your own inner alchemy work, to allow that to be transmuted so that you can rise up and connect to higher possibilities, higher breakthrough moments, opportunities for transformation. That's the gift of teamwork. We believe we have to do this all by ourselves. We believe that we are in this all by ourselves. We forget about the divine guidance that is there, God, source, the creator, whatever you want to call it. That is the wings on our back. So if we want to learn how to fly, if we want to maximize the potential, that requires evolution. It requires a growth within yourself. It requires self-esteem, self-nourishment, self-love, self-belief. And that is a pathway that only you can travel. So that is the gift of teamwork. Teamwork starts to bring us in deeper to realize, it's not all about me. It's about we. We are in this together. And when we start to use our pains, our wounds, and we have a very honest desire to move through them, first by acknowledging and accepting that they are real, then we have that compassion for ourselves. We have a compassion for humanity because we realize that others are going through very similar things. They're facing their own shadows, facing their own demons, and demons are those journeys we have in life that are hard. And they do challenge you to hold the faith. They do walk you through some fears. And there's fears that are very real. They really do affect your survivals. And then there's a lot of fears that are of our own creation. We create the story, we feed the story, we loop it back into a pattern that keeps us in our comfort zones. We don't like to venture into what is unfamiliar to us. We want the guarantee of success. We want to know that we'll be okay on the end of it. So we try so hard to hold the control, to self-persevere. And it's in leaning into the breath, the stillness, being honest with what is coming up for you, examining that fear of the past, examining the voice that says, well, last time you tried that, it didn't go so well. But what if this time is different? What if this time has new energy? What if you are a different version of yourself that has grown, that can really sense an opportunity, that is willing to let themselves try? And maybe you fail, but who defines failure, right? It is all about trying. It's about living. It's about experiencing. It's about getting out there and allowing yourself to blossom and grow. And as long as we are keeping ourselves contained, we're keeping ourselves in a narrative of a story, an expectation, a belief, a desire, then we're not giving ourselves the freedom that comes with that breath to just be. So we're reaching for the gift of teamwork during this energy, really inviting us to examine our relationships, to come out of your own opinion and to invite in other opinions, perhaps to practice deep, deep listening, to listen to the other, to see beyond their stories, to move past the feelings. And it's really interesting that during the Gateway of Patterns and as we move through Halloween for those that celebrate it, we do put on a lot of darker costumes. We do invite in a lot of fear, but we do it with this element of play. So why not use that to your advantage? Why not embrace this time and look at the children who are going out and they're facing the fears to get some candy, right? They're facing the fears to get a reward, something that is satisfying to them, a sweetness of life. There's an excitement in there. What if you can bring that excitement back into yourself? To look at your own fears of the past, to look at how we have a distrust within ourselves and how we're going to have relationships with others, how we're going to let people see who we truly are. Looking at how we have the element of misjudging. Sometimes we've misjudged somebody's character, or we've misjudged what we believed was true within that conversation or that relationship. We might have jumped to conclusions. What if you invite in that element of curiosity and fun to sit with that and to start moving into a deeper relationship, a deeper sense of teamwork, by allowing your innate gifts, your sense of smell in this case, having a nose for the right direction, the right people, the right circumstances, It brings me back to that witchy movie where she's always touching her nose. I think it's Sabina or Sabrina, right? That's the magic. You can't explain how you just have a nose to go in a certain direction, or you just have a nose that that person is right for you. But when you start to trust that, we move into the highest light aspect here, which is synergy. Synergy is when you're bringing the best of yourself forward. And everything goes out into this magnetic aura that we have. Our auras are fractal energies. They are patterns. And when you're doing the work within yourself and you're being very honest with your feelings, that is transparent in your energetic field. Well, that is sending out impulses and it's attracting like-minded individuals towards you. So if you're living in fear, if you're living in your self-sabotages, if you are constantly getting into relationships that are not good for you, it's in your fractal pattern. And it's in your fractal pattern because that is your thoughts, that is your belief, that is your level of healing that is still required inside to examine and do your own transformation to then have it purify into the outside. So it's the old saying that we're going to keep repeating the same pattern over and over and over again. We're going to keep getting the same lessons over and over again until we learn what it is we're meant to learn. And that's love. Love doesn't put you into the next phase, the next stage of your own evolution until you have built the foundation of who you are. If you grow too fast, too quickly in your relationships, in your business, in many areas of your life, then it's just going to come crashing down. So everything comes from that place of deep inner transformation. Really looking at where you are right now. Look out to Mother Earth. We are in the season of fall. Everything is falling down to the ground. It is releasing the past. The tree is becoming bare. It is vulnerable. Well, that is intimacy. So imagine within yourself all of these energetic thoughts, all of these expectations, all of these desires, all of these massive pretenses. Imagine giving yourself permission to start using the power of your breath and calling in Archangel Michael. Call in that energy of the blue aura, strength, divine protection, and ask to be released of all that is no longer serving you at this time. Let it fall to the earth. Give yourself permission to be still. Give yourself permission to journal through what is arising for you. Give yourself permission to be honest with your own emotions, to be honest with your fears. There's power in going, I'm afraid. And when you finally say, I'm afraid, now you're willing to look at why. And you're willing to look at all those ingredients that make up that statement, I am afraid. And when you lay it out before you, writing it out, giving yourself permission to contemplate it, then you're allowing the energy to come out of you. And you're able to see now through new eyes the validity of everything that you have brought forward for yourself. Once we see, then we have the power to transform. And it's only when we are willing to see can we then acknowledge to ourselves that I need help. And we reach for our team. We reach for those higher energies. We reach for the ancestral wisdom because they are transformed. They have already placed footprints before us. They've made so-called mistakes, which means they went through their process of evolution. But in spirit, they see it all. And in spirit, they become powerful guides. So why don't we, especially when the veil is this thin, invite in those qualities from spirit, those higher vibrating qualities, to support us in our own transcendence, to allow ourselves to become deeper, more intimate, to not be afraid of death, which is releasing those things that we have outgrown. And it might be something that you absolutely love. But if we don't represent fall and we don't mirror how the world is telling us to release that now, make yourself available for what is to come. You cannot receive if your cup is full. You cannot grow if you don't have any room in your schedule to try anything new. You cannot get out of your pattern if you're controlling your every movement. If you've already decided for yourself where you can and can't go, where you fit in or don't fit in, what you believe and don't believe. So this is our opportunity during the gateway of patterns, during this time when the veil is so thin, to step into your synergy, to step into your true magnetic pattern, to invite in those relationships, to tell the universe you're ready. You're ready for your ascension. Wherever you are on your path and on your own growth, you're ready. And in the readiness, welcome the water, welcome the tears, welcome the transformation of all that's ready to be purified. Because that is the truth behind water. Water is purifying. You're made of 80% water. We trap the emotions within ourselves. I am sending you all so much love. I'm excited to step forward in this new version of video for myself, my own transformation, acknowledging that the past videos, I'm hiding behind a PowerPoint. I'm trying to reuse material that has already been created for courses. This is my commitment to be real, to be vulnerable, to invite you into my own journey. And I hope that together we can inspire one another to just show up as you are, and to trust that the journey of life is absolutely beautiful, but that does not make it easy. Namaste. The light in me sees the light in you. Take care.